Hey everyone, Danielle and Rand speaking, and today we'll be talking about kinesics and face-eye behaviors. This info can be found or referenced from the text looking at on page 268 to 279. The kinesics and face-eye behaviors part of the nonverbal communication, which are the messages that we express by other linguistic means. It is essentially communication without words. We will be discussing some of the many influences that affect nonverbal communication. These influences have to do with the aspects of kinesics as well as face and eye behavior. Kinesics is the study of body positions and motion. There are many different ways in which we can position ourselves that will affect the overall impression of the message we're trying to convey. We may be aware or unaware of these nonverbal cues, but they will always come into play when it comes to our communicative relationships with those around us. The first aspect of kinetics that we'll be discussing is body orientation. Body orientation is a type of nonverbal communication characterized by the degree to which we face toward or away from someone with our body, head, and feet. For example, imagine that you are standing and having an in-depth and personal conversation with your best friend. It is more likely that the two of you are standing very close to one another, and your mannerism suggests that you are very attentive to one another. Now imagine that in the middle of this personal conversation that a third individual, of whom you're not very fond of, tries to join in your conversation. Instead of coming right out and saying that you want them to leave, you turn your body slightly away from this third individual. Now the message that you would be giving this person would be, we're interested in each other right now, and we don't want to include you in our conversation. The main thing to remember here is that you basically have said a whole sentence, but purely with actions and without any words. Another way that you can communicate non-verbally is through your posture. Posture is the way in which individuals carry themselves. Common examples include standing straight or standing with a slouch. By being attentive to people's postures, we can determine information about how people feel about themselves and each other. For example, if a professor is doing a lecture, he might pay attention to the student's posture in order to determine the effectiveness of his or her lecturing skills. If a professor sees that the students are leaning forward or sitting upright, then it's a good indication that the students are very attentive and in tune with the lecture. However, if the students are leaning back into the seats or slouching, then this is a good indication that they are bored and that they're most likely not listening to the lecture to begin with. The next aspect of kinesics that we'll be discussing is gestures.
Gestures are motions of the body, usually the hands or arms, which have communicative value. There are different types of gestures. The most common form of gestures are illustrators. Illustrators are nonverbal behaviors that accompany speech and that cannot stand alone. It's essentially like talking with your hands. For example, if someone asked you for directions to a nearby restaurant, it is likely that along with the street names you give them, that you will also be pointing in a certain direction with your fingers so as to direct them to the location that they wish to go to. In this case, it is obvious that the words must be present along with the gestures in order for it to make sense. Another type of gesture that is discussed in the textbook are emblems. These are deliberate nonverbal behaviors with precise meanings known to virtually all members of a cultural group. For example, in North America, everyone knows that a head nod means yes and a head shake means no. Adapters are movements in which one part of the body grooms, rubs, holds, fidgets, pinches, picks, or otherwise manipulates another part. These are also known as manipulators. For example, when someone is doing a presentation and they are stressed or nervous, they may fiddle with their hands, hair, or a piece of paper unconsciously. Regulators are another type of gesture. These are nonverbal behaviors used to direct the flow of verbal communication. For example, if you are in a conversation and you are done speaking your part, you may raise your eyebrows or slightly tilt your head in order to cue your partner that it is now their turn to talk. Affect displays are nonverbal behaviors which basically express emotion. For example, if you are thrown a surprise party, your mouth would probably drop wide open, your eyes would widen, and you may possibly cry. This acknowledges that you were in fact surprised. The final aspect of kinesics that we will discuss has to do with that of the face and eyes. These are probably the most noticed parts of the body. Having said this, the face is a complex feature of the human body, and this may make nonverbal messages difficult to read. Different emotions can be seen within different parts of the face. Researchers have found that there are at least 8 distinguishable positions of the eyebrows and forehead, 8 more of the eyes and lids, and 10 for the lower face. For example, happiness and surprise can be seen in the eyes and lower face, anger can be seen in the lower face, brows, and forehead, fear and sadness can be seen in the eyes, and disgust can be seen in the lower face. We are quite accurate in judging the emotions that were just mentioned through facial expression. However, this accuracy can increase even more when we know the target or the context in which the expression occurs. This concludes our video presentation. Thanks for watching!